discuss the benefits of using multimedia in the classroom, and appropriately the media chosen to discuss the topic is video. The concept of multimedia in the classroom for instruction is not a new one. Teachers have been finding ways to deliver information and facilitate learning using multiple strategies since the early 1900s. Today, however, the digital media has made it possible for teachers and students to learn in ways not possible as little as 15 years ago. Integrating educational technology into teaching lists some of the many benefits of the use of video, for example, as being the ability to demonstrate procedures for teachers, the development of student-created presentations, using video for lectures, which is gaining traction today in the flipped classroom concept spearheaded by such organizations as the Khan Academy. Video can be used to create student video portfolios, to build video simulations and problem-solving simulations, documentation of school activities, visual literacy instruction, and obviously for teaching video production. You can also use video for real-time communication, collaboration, and presentation through the use of such services as Skype. As I stated earlier, the ability for teachers and students to access digital video has changed dramatically over the last 2 decades. Personally, I was using video production in the classroom in the early 90s when students produced their work using giant VHS cameras, large format cameras, and editing linearly using 2 VCRs. So the final product was crude and unpolished. However, even with that limited technology, the benefits for students at that time was obvious. Students producing video documentaries are forced to think about storytelling, as well as research and interview techniques to teach their audience about the topic. And as we all know, one of the best measurements of learning is whether or not you can teach it to somebody else. The unit I developed focuses in on the abstract concept of metaphor, as discussed in a TED Talk by James Gary, which is found in my list of video resources. As part of this unit, students grouped themselves into specific areas of interest chosen from the TED Talk and created short documentaries that included research, experiments, interviews, and good storytelling. Here's a short taste of some of their work.
James Jerry believes that the average person speaks about 6 metaphors a minute.
Metaphor lives a secret life all around us. We utter about 6 metaphors a minute.
Is this really true? This concept also appears in a book called How Customers Think by Gerald Ziegman. We decided to do an experiment to see if this claim holds up. Do the number of metaphors vary by things such as age or level of education? We're about to find out. We asked some people a few questions to see if James' Jerry theory is correct.
Many people have a neurologically based condition known as synesthesia, causing their senses to trigger each other in seemingly random ways. For example, music may cause them to see different colors, smell different odors, etc. In fact, everyone has slight synesthetic abilities, which influence how we accept metaphors.
You might not have noticed your synesthetic abilities, but they exist alright. Here's a simple test. See these 2 shapes? One is named Kiki and the other is named Booba. Which one is Booba? If you picked this one as Booba, then you are like 95 to 98% of other people.
In this situation, one of your senses, hearing, suggested something to one of your other senses, vision, influencing how your brain thought about the input received from both senses.
And how is cognitive dissonance a type of metaphor?
The Curious Instinct of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Hayden expanded our way of thought. It suggested that the word metaphor is a metaphor because metaphor really means from one place to another and carry. It also suggests that our name means something other than us. For example, Bryn means hill, yet Bryn isn't a hill, she's Bryn. Just as red is not purple, it's red.
Other forms of successful multimedia instruction are the use of podcasts and the creation of visual representations of concepts in literature. I have students in my 9th grade language arts class create podcasts as part of a unit of instruction in Shakespeare, A Midsummer Night's Dream, where students record themselves performing scenes and creating the mood and atmosphere of the scene through the development of a soundtrack. Students practice and record the language of Shakespeare, which requires an analysis of the ideas within the dialogue. My students have created presentations where they ask to find images that represent concepts within short stories and explain the metaphor presented, which calls on higher level thinking strategies such as analysis and synthesis. When teachers use multimedia in the classroom, it is clear that students are more engaged. However, careful consideration must also be made not to overstimulate the learner. According to E-Learning and the Science of Instruction by Clark and Meyer, adding extraneous elements to multimedia learning material that do not support educational objectives can actually damage the learning process. Graphics and sounds that are not related to the educational objectives of the presentation are nothing more than distracting. Spicing up a lesson by adding extraneous elements damages the process. Another psychological theory is that the human brain can only upload a finite amount of information at a time. Too much information can lead to cognitive overload. The brain processes information through visual and oral channels. Therefore, multimedia strategies that present information on separate channels are found to be successful. However, studies have also shown that redundancy by using text and animation or narration and sound effects overloads the channels and impairs learning. Using multimedia technology to enhance learning is clearly becoming more and more a necessary part of education. It is one way of increasing engagement, deepening impact through increased relevance, and also supporting the variety of ways that people learn.